Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Let's Talk Thursdays with Dr. Keela. Of course, I am your host, Dr. Keela, board certified family practitioner, speaker, and award winning author of Nia and the Numbers Game. I'm in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and in honor of International Women's Month, I am going to be speaking with four really amazing teenage girls from various backgrounds who have eclectic interests. And this is really going to blow you all out of the water. We're going to discuss with these young ladies a little bit about their backgrounds, what they are passionate about, and any obstacles that they may have overcome in their journeys thus far. So today I'm going to be speaking with Jayla Jackson. So I'm just waiting for her to join. All right. Hey there, Jayla. Hi there.
Hey,
How are you? Welcome.
thank you for having me. Number one, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing great, and I'm so excited to have you on Let's Talk Thursdays with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about this one.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, let's get started, Jayla. Let's start off by saying, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and how old you are.
Hello everyone. I'm Jayla Jackson. I'm 16 years old, and I am right here from the Atlanta, Georgia. Despite
All
what
right.
I had to say about what's Atlanta, what's not. And I'm a creative. I do a span of everything from photography to screenplay to poetry. Anything that's dealing with writing, typically I'm on it. I'm also a professional public speaker. I'm a daughter to two amazing parents and a big sister, which is something I'm proud of as well. I'm an active big sister. So
Okay. So, how old is your little sister?
my little sister is 3 years old. She does not act like it. She acts a lot like me,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, she's three.
Okay. So now, Jayla, I noticed on your Instagram account that you use the pronouns she and her. When did you decide to start using the pronouns?
I think for me personally, I have never really zoomed in on the importance of pronouns until our world started evolving. When we talk about in being more inclusive and being
Mhm.
more diverse in our communities, and so as the rise of mental health came, and as we started having conversations about the spectrum of gender, and I started having people around me, either change their pronouns. I'm really close with someone who went through a journey of renaming themselves and having different pronouns. I personally started to recognize how powerful those can be, because while we use them on a daily basis, pronouns are a way that it's a piece of your identity. Same respect that you could have for your name, same respect that you could have for your race or your religion, you can have them in your pronouns, because pronouns are connected to your sex or your gender or however you choose to identify. And so as someone who is proud of my feminine nature and my womanhood, when I started, going and, telling people, identifying like I am a she, her, it was out of respect to how our world is changing, and B, me, kind of taking that piece of my womanhood and starting to own it as I step, into college life soon and other things. So that's my story.
Oh, awesome. Very well thought out answer. So now let's shift gears a little bit. I have to congratulate you on making Black history. Thank you for representing teen girls, and particularly African American teen girls, so well in terms of winning the Harvard International Debate Competition. So tell us what that experience was like.
Whew, okay, where should I start? There are so many words that I could give that experience. But I think the one that I typically use is just like, it was so formative and it was so life-changing for me independently. Because while that was an accomplishment that was representative of Black girls everywhere, to show the world like we are so brilliant, we are so fierce, we are so amazing, and when given access, there is nothing that we cannot do. On the other hand, on a personal journey, that changed me in so many ways because it showed me that when I persevere and when I really put my mind to something, that independently there isn't anything I can't do. And so after that Harvard experience, I did so much. Like the reason why I could give you a bio on everything that I'm involved in is because that showed me when I buckle down and when I have faith in myself and my community, oh, it's scary. Oh, it's nothing do. Like it's literally nothing that I cannot do. And on top of that, there is nothing that we cannot do because while myself and my partner Imani are the face that you see, we are from a community of people who all are about that work of changing the narrative of Black communities. I have a cohort, some of them are in here now, the cohort of 2021, a group of intelligent Black kids who all went with us to Harvard. It just so happened that Imani and I were the victors for that competition. So I'm like, no, this wasn't just about me. This wasn't just about, the fact that it was Harvard. This was about a greater narrative that we're creating while also fighting off the one that they tried to force upon us. So just life-changing, formative, just amazing.
So now, how did that experience lead to you being featured in Teen Vogue's Top 21 Under 21?
Yes. So after the Harvard Diversity Project win, what was so significant about it and the reason why it got as much press as it did was because my partner and I were the first Black girl duo to win Harvard's international debate competition. And I was the youngest Black girl to ever do it. And so it got everywhere. And after that, my partner and I did not stop the work that we did. I did speeches for the March On for Voting Rights, and I was still in the community. I did community work with my personal nonprofit. I own a production company now. It just did
Wow.
from there. And so it was like, I don't know, it clicked for both of us that like there is work to be done in our community. Yes, it was cool. Yes, we gained support from that. Now let me show you what else you need to be supporting. And so the Teen Vogue Top 21 Under 21, which is recognizing girls who are in their communities making change under the age of 21, which can be hard if you don't have the right support or if you don't have the right access to resources. And so it was really acknowledging girls who have made their way, and not only girls, it was a spectrum of people who have made their way, who are under 21, who are making change in their community.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, it seems to me that you're a huge advocate of using your voice. So, where did you gain the courage to speak out?
Whew. Okay, so I'm gonna take y'all back. We're gonna go back. I So the process for me, I've always had things to say. I'm a naturally opinionated person. Like there is never a time where a million thoughts aren't running through my head. But how I was when I was younger is it just always found itself in the pages of a notebook, which was fine. But
Mm,
there are times where they need to hear you say it because a lot of time in writing we can't hear tone, we can't hear mood, we can attach a facial expression to it, we
true.
can't hear the inflection with it. There are elements to auditory expression that writing did not give. And so when I don't know, and this is just, I guess it's just me as a person. Once I do it one time, once I give it like that one opportunity, whether I do well in it or not, that just allows me to see. And so I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to public speaking and using your voice, there will always be a million reasons why you shouldn't do it. That is something I've learned. Like there will be a million and one reasons why this could go wrong or why I shouldn't do it. But sometimes you get one shot and just one chance to try it out. And I've become a person to where I'm never going to pass up on the opportunity and I'm never going to let my shot pass me by. And so when I finally just tried it out, which it literally was just like standing up in class and taking what
Mhm.
I thought was so dope in my head and saying it out loud. And when I got a hand clap or when I got affirmation, it was like, yo, you can do this. Like this is
Yes.
the start to something great. Like once you hit square one, even if you're not going, making as the progress as fast as you would like, at least you're moving somewhere. And so it was just about taking that one opportunity or just giving it one shot and seeing how far that it could take me. And so once I did that, now I'm speaking everywhere to hundreds and thousands of people.
I am just so impressed with your confidence. I love it. Love it. So let's switch gears a little bit. I understand that you're into poetry as well. So why do you love spoken word poetry?
Whew, that is my heart. That is my heart. Like out of all the things I do, I think spoken word for me is my number one. And anytime I have this conversation, I always give love to my mother poet. Her name is Susan Barnes. She's a teacher at the Ron Clark Academy, and she's the one who introduced me to spoken word poetry. And whew, so this goes back to identity. As a female, who is can sometimes be labeled aggressive or sassy because we live in a adultifying world. This gave me an opportunity to be unapologetically myself, which is Black, which is Atlanta, and also have the opportunity to tap into an intellectual prowess that still was fun. So it's like, I'm a good writer. I love to talk about the world. But what I don't like is sitting in a cramped up classroom where it feels like a lecture. But what I do like is saying things in a way that I feel like is dope. What I do like is being creative with language and finding all the different ways to make somebody want to hop out their seat. Like that's what it's like, taking the things that we have been conditioned to feel like are boring, or we don't like. There's a lot of kids who are like, I don't like politics, or like that's just not something I'm interested in, you know. But you'll argue with somebody, you'll read somebody down on social media. I think it is like, it was just a marriage between all the things that I love, and it allowed me to say things, and it became a sanctuary for me also. Even the poems I don't share, it was just a way for me to express that I felt comfortable in, that I felt confident in. Even if you think my poems are trash, I think they lit. And so it just became a home for me.
Now let me ask you something. Do you feel like your race or ethnicity affects your life on a daily basis or not really?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How so?
So one of my father's favorite artists is a underground Memphis rapper named Playa Fly. I don't know if anybody knows who he is. But a song he has, he talks about this concept of ghetto eyes. And basically that because of his surroundings and the things that he's seen and the things that he has been caused to see because of his race, because of his area, it's almost like his eyes have been stained to see a certain way. And so because of
Interesting.
the country that we live in, because of the world that we live in, where race does play a significant role in income, in ability, in access, and all of those things, it becomes almost like a lens that we have, which can change, right? So I go to a predominantly white school in Atlanta where there are kids of color who don't think the same way that I think, or who don't have the same lens. But I think at a basis, being or identifying as a Black man or a Black woman, or whatever you choose to identify by, it comes innately with a lens that is different than our white counterparts, or that is different than our Asian counterparts, or anybody of any other race. And it's because we do have a unique experience in America. I did a poem recently where I said we're a nation within a nation, and it's really true. And so I feel like my race does impact the way that I see the world. I don't think that I would be the person that I am if I was a different race, because it is very prevalent in my life.
Now tell me, Jayla, do you think about your future a lot?
Woo. So this is crazy. So I was actually just on a Zoom with some people that I'm connected with, and we were kind of working through some team issues that we were having. And this came up, that I am someone where I live life like I'm running out of time. And I think that might be genetic because my father does it too. And it's not because we're living out of fear. It's not because we've been, through some trauma that's forced us to be that way. I think that naturally, as a visionary, if anybody who is a visionary and you have the ability to see certain things, it's like, oh, we got to get there. Especially if you're somebody who, I'm such a loving person. Like, I am like, you have became my auntie. I don't know if you knew that, but for me now. So it's like, oh my
On your
God,
Instagram auntie. Okay, I'll take it.
like I'm somebody, I am a strong we person. And so when I think about the people around me, when I think about myself and the gifts that God has given me, and I look around, I'm like, oh my God, this deserves so much more. This deserves better positioning. The people around me deserve wiggle room to be able to be like this. We deserve economic stability, and we deserve the ability to, hop on the yacht and go here and get on the private jet. Like these are things that we deserve to have, even though everything in the world is fighting to take it away from us. We deserve happiness. And so I look at myself, when I look at my little sister's eyes, I'm like, I want to give you the world. And so I do think about my future a lot, because my future is not only mine, it's connected to those around me. And
Mhm.
so there are ups and downs to that, which I have acknowledged, that I can sometimes get so lost in the future. I miss out on the moments, right now. But I think that that's important. Foresight is such a important skill that you gotta have, especially because in this world, you gotta stay one step ahead, because it be coming like uppercuts and like we gotta stay ahead.
One of the things I've talked about a good bit over the past year is emotional health and mental health as it relates to teenage girls.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you do to stay mentally healthy?
So I think the main thing for me is probably spoken word poetry. But that has kind of shifted, because spoken word, I'm now a professional poet. And so sometimes doing spoken word poetry is a job. And so it's like when I'm trying to disconnect from work, where do I go? And I don't feel like it's robbed poetry from me, but sometimes, poetry is not where I'm trying to be. So I'm more of a, like, I gotta be in my own mental space. Like I go in a bubble for myself, and I just love positive self-talk. Like if you could already tell,
Mhm.
I'll talk your ear off if you let me, right? But rarely, I think we don't think about enough the things we say to ourselves, even when it's not as loud as the things going on around us. Those things still have impact. And so I love positive self-talk. Like I will tell myself, like, you are not required to sit with anything that makes you feel smaller, or you are not required to make anyone feel, the way that they want to feel. Like you own yourself, you own your future. Like I literally,
Yeah.
like a crazy person, talk to myself. And it's because, you can't, definitely trust the people around you and trust the people who have shown you that they love you. But that's such an important responsibility. Like when I think about, myself, like, how do I want to be held? And I know that better than anybody, the ways that I want to be held. So I got to give that to myself. So I think positive self-talk, definitely writing and getting it out, expressing in some way. And I have, established enough people around me to where I'm like, this is my team. I know they have me, to where I feel comfortable leaning sometimes. Like, let me just rest here for a second. Sometimes God builds walls in your life, not to stop you or get you to turn another way, but just so you can lean and you can rest. Like, just take pause. So
Interesting perspective. I thought you were going to go someplace else when you mentioned God building walls in your life. Now, what about obstacles? Is there anything in your past that's been an obstacle?
So there are many things that have been an obstacle. I'm somebody where I think there are people in life that you can't tell, some of the things that they've endured through. Like you would look at them and like, I wouldn't have ever guessed that that is your story. And I think the other side is, people, you don't have to wear what has happened to you. And so for me, I think my biggest obstacle in some ways have been myself, just because I will get lost in my head. I am always thinking. I am always thinking. And so the same way where I could hype myself up, I could put myself in a hole when I feel like, I'm not adequate enough, or that, I don't want to be a one-hit wonder, or that wasn't good enough. Like that, that could really dig you under. And so, yes, I've had obstacles from the outside world, but I always like to remind myself that I'm in control, and that it goes back to me, and it goes back to my relationship with God and me trusting him. And so it's like, on one hand, I want to acknowledge them as obstacles, but on the other hand, I think my biggest obstacle has always been myself. And that no matter what I go through, no matter what I see, if I want to be okay and if I want to be happy, that's something I'm going to be responsible for. Like, I don't ever want to relinquish my rights to autonomy to something else. Because there's, like I said before, there's always going to be obstacles. Like, there's always going to be things that happen. Will you be responsible for your happiness, or are you going to relinquish your rights to free will?
Absolutely. Do
So
you
yeah.
feel truly heard by your peers, your teachers at school, and your family?
Ooh, okay. So I think I could break this down into two things. Do I feel heard? Yes. I'm a loud person. I am a big personality.
Okay.
Sometimes, though, I don't know if I'm understood. And it is because I do live in the future, right? So, on one hand, there's a fight to be heard, which I feel like I've kind of pushed through. On the other hand, I search for understanding, because just hearing me, for me, like, it's not enough. Like, a lot of people have functioning ears. Do you understand where I'm coming from is what I'm
Right.
looking. And I think that I do have a unique perspective, and I'm not someone who is prone to share, not because I don't understand the importance of vulnerability or the importance of transparency. But it's just like, it's more of, in the moments where I can't do that, or in the moments when I'm not ready, will you be able to not to hear the things that aren't coming out of my mouth verbally? I think that's important, because everybody don't come out the womb ready to share. Like, y'all, let me tell y'all my life story. That's a process. Like, that is a journey. And so it's like, when people aren't ready to verbally tell you, will you be ready to listen? It's almost like I'm listening to the way that your face responds to certain things, and I'm listening to the way that your community interacts with you. Like, I'm looking at the pieces that you have to deal with, and kind of understanding why you act how you act. Like, that's kind of where I've been with it. So it's always been a battle for understanding. Or even when I'm verbally telling you, you just may not get it. And are we going to let that stop us from being cool, or are we going to be able to work through that? So,
Tell me, do you think you are a better listener or a better talker, or are you great at both? You're even.
a lot of people disagree with what I'm about to say. I think I'm a better listener. And the reason I say that is, I will definitely always have a response. Like I said, I'm going to always have a response. But the reason why I think I have done so well when it comes to poetry and public speaking and things like that is because I do listen, and I'm listening intensely. And I'm not only listening, I'm active listening. And I'm going to sit here in my phone and define the words that you just used, so I can understand the nuances to your statement. Like, I'm a nerd, like 100%. Like, I am a street nerd. Like, I'm breaking down the songs. Like, the reason why I like rap music so much is, like, did you just hear what he said? Like, do you understand that was 4 different? Like, that's me.
There's
So
nothing wrong with being a nerd, Jayla. Nothing wrong with it at all.
I love being a nerd. It's something that I am so proud of. But I think it's made me successful in many ways. Like, I listen intensely, and I'm listening to hear, not just take the statement at face value, because there are so many layers to existence, and there are so many layers to language. And so I definitely think that I'm a better listener, and from that I pull some of the most beautiful things out of the smallest of anything. Like, that's something that we like to do for fun. My debate partner and I, like, we'll
Mhm.
take something small and be like, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Because what I bet y'all didn't see is how this thing is stacked.
Well, Jayla, thank you so much. I have really enjoyed this interview. Now, before we end, would you mind sharing maybe one of your spoken word pieces, or, do something off the top of your head spontaneous?
Woo.
Would you
Okay.
mind sharing?
I'm trying to see if I remember anything. Let me think.
Sure.
Okay, so this was a piece. I don't remember the full thing. It's a long piece. I'm gonna just do a little excerpt.
Sure.
Um, it's called "I'm Not Your Diamond," and it was a piece about pressure and how people around you will put pressure on your life, not realizing that on one hand it can create a diamond, but on the other hand it could crush you. So I said, "I am not your diamond. I'm not a copy of the character you created that constantly confirms your creativity. I'm not the chore of a jewelry store or the clink of the." Oh, hold on. I'm so sorry. I am not a diamond. I am not a copy of carbon that constantly confirms your creativity. I'm not the chore of a jewelry store or the clash of a crane. I'm not the reason for the catacombs that we call ground. I am not your diamond. Um, but what I am is the carefully composed composition of legacy that confirms that compassion still roams. I am the cadet of my ascendancy, in charge of my legacy. I am oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm a candid cameo caught in the cage of your calculation, but I am not your diamond. And there's more to that. Woo.
Young lady, you are so impressive. Can I just say, as your internet Instagram auntie, I am so proud of you.
Thank you so much. That was so like rough, but on the
Doesn't
bright side,
matter.
you can listen to the full poem on Apple Music or Spotify. On my poetry album called Pages Like Knives. Yeah, it's available on Apple Music and Spotify. You can also find it on my page. That's if you want to hear the full poem and the other ones. But no, thank you so much. Like, I
Oh,
don't
you
even,
are so welcome, Jayla. Thank you for coming. You are going to inspire more teenage girls than you already have. And you're inspirational even to us old heads, right? Us adults, because it really feels good to see I'm peering into the future, right? You are a future leader and you're already demonstrating that. So I'm just so proud. This is awesome. You're an amazing young lady.
thank you so much. Oh my gosh. All my people, if you're here, make sure you follow Dr. Keela Henry. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I loved it.
Well, thank you so much for being here. You keep being amazing. All right, everybody, this concludes this week's edition of Let's Talk Thursdays with Dr. Keela. Check me out next Thursday where we will be interviewing another amazing teenage girl. All right, bye now.
Okay.